Thank you, Liz.
Just to be aware of background noise and keep your camera on throughout the evening. Jane will be managing the Zoom link, so if anyone's kicked out or anything happens, we'll do our best to get you back in. And if you need to leave the session for any reason, that's okay, just slip away. Keep your mics on mute unless you're speaking or asked to unmute. We may run over a bit, but we'll do our best not to. Please be respectful, listen to others and enjoy. Just in case there's a fire alarm, assemble at your own front door. The theme of the conference this evening is to look at the opportunities and challenges volunteers for 14 to 25-year-olds. And we shall explore this through presentations from young people and organisations, conversation, questions and answer sessions in our breakout rooms this evening. We shall record the key points for the way forward and shall inform you of our findings. And we'll start the evening off by breaking off into our first breakout room for introductions. So please just give your name and what organisation you're from and relax and enjoy tonight.
So we're just waiting to get put into our breakout rooms now, so for introduction, so just give us a moment, please. Thank you.
all coming back again. That's great.
Hi.
Hello.
We all get booted out very quickly, don't we? Lauren, just whenever we have the last person come back, we'll hand over to Lauren, our compere for this evening.
Is that everyone back? Yeah.
That's us.
So we hope you had fun and are ready for a really great time. I'd like to introduce Denise Hayward of Volunteer Now's Chief Executive to set the scene and open the conference.
Thanks very much, Lauren, and thank you very much for asking me along this evening to this event. Jane has asked me just to set the scene about volunteering, and particularly about young people's volunteering and how we ensure that volunteering is meaningful for young people and for organisations. So I suppose I wanted to start back at the very beginning of this, in that volunteering and thinking about what we mean when we're talking about volunteering, just so that we're all clear exactly what we're talking about. It's very much when you give your time to help an organisation or to do something for the environment or the community. You're doing it free of charge. You may get some volunteer expenses if you're excuse me, if you're lucky, but it is simply because you want to give your time to make a difference and to make a change in your community. I suppose the reason I want to focus on the definition is because it is important to differentiate something like volunteering from, say, work placements or work experience or something that you might do as part of a course. It's something that you do. So when you're doing volunteering, it's something that you do which is free of charge, from your own heart, from your own volition. So what do we know about volunteering and what makes a meaningful volunteering experience? Well, we know that young people have told us over many years researching this issue that the things that they really enjoy and benefit from volunteering are the opportunity to build networks, to get to know people, to make friends, to be able to contribute something to their community, to give something back, to that feeling of really taking part and making a difference. But they also are telling us that it's about building skills and experience. Now, that's not necessarily in terms of having formal qualification. More often it's softer skills, things like having emotional intelligence, things about building self-esteem, promoting your mental health, your good communication skills, your teamwork, all of those kinds of things. So when I think we're talking about a meaningful volunteering experience, we're talking about an opportunity that gives you the chance of all of those things wrapped up into one place. So not much to ask. So then I suppose looking at the other side of it, what stops it? Why do organisations not want to offer meaningful volunteering experiences to young people? And some of the big barriers that people would feed back to us, organisations say to us, is they're concerned particularly for that under 18 age group around the safeguarding. And if an organisation is not set up with safeguarding systems in place as part of its normal work, then it can struggle sometimes to be able to offer opportunities to younger people. And that can be a barrier. Definitely there is something about insurance for some organisations, that not that it's not available, but that it seems to provide an extra hurdle to jump, and organisations do struggle with that. Organisations lack experience involving young people as volunteers. I mean, and they are concerned at times that maybe they won't be able to offer a fun experience that young people will want to engage with, and therefore they don't do it. It's that fear factor, and so they step back from it. And there's also a concern, I think, from some organisations that it might be a lot of bother, and will they really benefit from it? Will they really benefit from it? So I suppose, you know, as in pushing back on that point, I would say to organisations who are thinking about involving young people as volunteers that you're missing out if you're not doing this, because you can have an opportunity to involve people who've got new talents, new ideas, fresh ways of thinking. You're missing out on the opportunity to engage with a whole segment of the community and to get buy-in for your work and your services and engagement with your activities from a whole new generation of people. And I suppose that's the other thing that I think is so important about giving young people the opportunity of a meaningful volunteering experience, because really when you think about volunteering, you think about it across your life, and at different stages of our lives, we come in and out of volunteering, and many young people do come to volunteering. We know that nearly 30% of young people volunteered before the pandemic. But what I suppose what we are aware of is that as life changes, you get busier, maybe sometimes you step back from it, but then again, maybe when you have children of your own or whatever, you come back to it. I suppose the point I'm making is that if you have a really good experience straight off in your young volunteering experience, it'll stay with you and you'll be a volunteer for your whole life long. And that's a really, really important thing. And it's something that I think if we miss that opportunity for young people to have that meaningful experience, we are maybe closing a door to them that could actually help their mental health, their physical health, just their whole social and community experience for the whole of their lives. And that's a big negative as far as I'm concerned. So I suppose just to finish off, I suppose I wanted to reflect on volunteering in the pandemic. We've seen massive change. I don't think I've ever lived through a period of change in volunteering like it. Initially, in the very early stages of the pandemic, the media was full of those images of stepping forward to help the NHS, and a massive number of people who came forward to volunteer at that time, many people who were furloughed, many people who'd never volunteered before. However, what we have seen then as the months have gone on and as people have maybe picked up the threads of their normal lives, they've gone back to work, the numbers of people coming forward to volunteering have fallen away. Now, I am optimistic that a lot of those people who dipped their toe in that water early on will come back to it, and certainly the research would indicate that. But what we've also seen is a massive stepping back from volunteering of older volunteers who've maybe volunteered for decades in some cases, who've been involved for a long period of time, you know, maybe have been the backbone of running some of the youth clubs or some of the sports groups or whatever that many of you have been part of. And that is a huge risk for volunteer involving organisations, because that experience has walked out the door. And I suppose my kind of challenge to us all tonight is how we can start to think about how can young people step forward to fill some of those gaps, and what would that need to look like? So I suppose as we go through this evening, we'll discuss many of these issues. I hope I've given you a little bit of food for thought there, but I think it is important to remember we are in the cusp of big change for volunteering over the next few years as we start to rebuild after the pandemic. So looking forward to hearing your views and taking part in the discussion later on. Thank you very much, Lauren.
Thank you. I think now it's on to me and Oren, so I'm just gonna share screen here, and we can get can everyone see that?
Yes.
So myself and Oren, we're just gonna talk around our experiences within volunteering and things that we've done. So I'll start us off with, I began volunteering when I was 14. I think that's the most as you can, but I started volunteering just because I had basically grown up in the youth setting, and ever since then I just always knew it was like the next step, and so for me it was just the next thing to do within being a youth member.
For me, I joined during lockdown over the club's Zoom calls, but now in the youth club I volunteer, and I would usually go out and play in the pitch, either football or basketball.
So Oren, I think this is yours for Gordatog.
Yeah, so we went to Gordatog on a week-long residential. There were senior members and junior members, but so basically what we had to do as the senior members and volunteers, we had to encourage the juniors to try things they never would have done before and push them to their limits so they could get the full enjoyment out of this trip that we knew they could, but they just needed that wee push over the edge to get them going. So some of the examples would be climbing or rock climbing, there was paddle boarding, and there was kayaking. Some of them might have been scared, some of the juniors might have been scared for the boat to tip over, but we just had to hold their hand and walk them through this, and eventually when they were ready, let them do it themselves.
And as Oren said, basically the same thing from my point. we did, we also helped throughout the summer scheme as senior members. This was one of our summer scheme days. We took part at Shannockmore, and it was again just challenging young people to better their potential and fulfill it as well, and just to push their boundaries and test what they can do. And we did that through positive encouragement, just constantly making them realize that there's more that they were capable of, because once we were those scared young members of doing all those scary things, and now we're the big senior members helping them. So definitely time changes. But within the centre we also do certain things to like that are our own wee specialities, I guess you could say, and Orange is definitely take that.
For me personally, I would be out, I'm more athletically focused, so I would be out playing sport. That's what I do in my free time as well as volunteering. So I'd be out playing football or in basketball. So I'd have to do things like playing the nets for the juniors to give them a little bit of a challenge so they can practice their skills. Or say in basketball, I would have to put them all on a team against me so they could try to get around me. Really just helps them engage with others and helps them practice their teamwork.
For me in the centre, what was the biggest development was definitely I ended up running my own programme that I spoke about earlier in my introduction. Dance club I call it, but it's not necessarily a club where there's just people, it's just anyone can come up whenever they feel like it, whenever they want. And the thing that shocked me the most was we intended for my dance programme to be 68 weeks, and it has now been over a year and a half long, and we actually continued it through Zoom on lockdown as well, because the young people were so invested and really enjoyed it so much so that they wanted to continue it. And so it has been an ongoing thing, and I still love it to this day. But it was just more about giving young people an opportunity to do something that they might not be able to do outside of the centre. So I was quite privileged to be able to give them that opportunity. And also just how, even though we have our wee separate things to do, we also can come together and make something big. Oren.
I just could see the slide wasn't coming up, but this is the Halloween party we did. So all senior member and volunteers, to help the kids engage and have fun, we had to get up and actually show them all how to do these dances and how to obviously follow us, a good time with other people. But it was completely led by us, the volunteers, and it was just a really fun night for the kids. They all got to gift different games and prizes, like a Halloween hunt basically, where all the juniors had to go out and try and find different spiders and Halloween objects and bring them back, and they all got prizes. So it was just shows that if we all come together, how we can just do this massive big event.
So Oren, oh, this is you again, Oren. Sorry, we were just talking about what we actually enjoy personally about volunteering.
This is, for me personally, it's the activities that we get to do. So it's just the enjoyment I get out of it, able to have fun with juniors, or even able to have fun with the other senior volunteers. It's a different experience that I would have never been able to do if I hadn't have just started volunteering for Mount Talbot Youth Club. So it's always a great thing to get into.
And for me, it's definitely one thing I love to see is just how the young people grow into themselves, and just watching the relationships build between the young people within the centre. And it's also just so good because it's just a getaway, it's a wee relaxation, and it's really good for your mental health to just leave school and all that behind and just come to somewhere where you can enjoy and completely have a free will to do what you want, and also to see change in young people. I think it's extremely important for me anyway. And through volunteering, we might need to go through this quite fast. We got loads of opportunities. So I know James Trenner's on here, and he's one of my leaders from T-Buck Ambassadors. But through volunteering, I was able to take on the role of T-Buck Ambassador. I would never have been able to put myself in a position to just go into something not knowing absolutely anybody, but just to do it and have the confidence to go ahead and say, yeah, this is what I want to do to make a difference and make a change. And as a T-Buck Ambassador, we complete OCNs, and also it's to develop young people and also for them to push their boundaries again, but also for them to make positive change within society today. And so hopefully we get to do that a lot more. So definitely wouldn't be there without volunteering.
This is one of the things that I got out of volunteering. This is actually a caddy program. So we got to meet, there was a cross community program, and we all basically, it was supposed to be like a colour run where we were supposed to actually run around the Delamont Country Park, but we just ended up doing a colour fight and just started throwing bags of powder at everyone else. But there was like almost like a hidden meaning behind it. It means it basically just showed that maybe if we were all different colours, it doesn't matter anyone's background or anything. We're all unique and we're all different, but we should not judge on who they are or what they believe. So it was great to just have fun and relax in the hot, well, as hot as it gets in Ireland, summer sun, and just have a colour fight.
Another thing we got out of volunteering was both of us attended this. This is our Camp Rock program. I'm sure Paul's quite aware of this. Yes, Paul, I'm still involved in Camp Rock. It's been like 4 years, but we absolutely love Camp Rock, and it's again a cross community project. It's just bringing young people from all across the north of Ireland. We were able to just come together and create amazing things at the end of the week. And it was just a case of meeting new people, and again with confidence I never would have had if I didn't involve volunteering. We're going to quickly run through the barriers that we faced. Just the fact that we are both taking part in A levels at the minute, so I'm doing 4 A levels, but I'm also a competitive Irish dancer, and I have a part-time job, so fitting volunteering in is awful difficult, but we make it work. And Oren himself, you do a couple of things outside of volunteering too.
Yeah, I'm doing A levels as well. I'm only doing 3 though, but I play hurling and Gaelic in my spare time, and then I also have a part-time job, so it's really just teaches you time management.
And we also can this photo was actually of us at our residential in the summer, but the 4 of us in this photo actually got our GCSE results while we were on the residential, so that's dedication if I do say so myself. And lastly, just some of the things that we would want to see in the future for volunteering. It's just that whenever we're seeing the young people progress, that maybe the things that we instill in them, they can be the volunteers that we were for them, and hopefully they can give the opinions and just values that we give to them, and they can. So that's all. Sorry, I think that went on a bit longer than it should have. Sorry about that. But just key points that from that is just through volunteering, you develop many transferable skills for the future that I'll definitely be able to put into play. And even in school, the things that I am able to do because I have volunteering experience, it does make you a lot more confident. You wouldn't even realize it. And also just to help young people challenge themselves and push their boundaries, just give them positive encouragement and see young people become the better versions of themselves. So, after I finished talking on there, I'd like to introduce our second guest speaker of the evening. So Paul Deacon is the head of Regional Youth Services, and take it away, Paul.
Thank you very much, Lauren and Oren. That was an excellent presentation and well done. And I think, Lauren, when I'd seen the agenda for today, I kind of had both a heartwarming feeling to think, oh my God, Lauren's still at it. She stuck with it. Excellent. But in the second one, it was a sobering reminder that I'm starting to become a grey old man, because you were one of the last programs that I actually delivered face-to-face as a youth work program before I changed roles within the Education Authority. But at the same time, you know what, it's a really great reminder of why I do the job that I do, even though it's maybe a bit more desk-based than face-to-face with young people nowadays. So well done. And whether you know it or not, Lauren, you didn't just do those things during lockdown. You did apply to TikTok videos, dance TikTok videos, if I recall, for the Caddy Facebook page to keep young people engaged. So honestly, your volunteering for both of you has no bounds, and to actually have that contribution to carry on your educational journey and carry down a job. Maybe we need to talk to your mum about maybe just taking the slack off a wee bit for you, is there a bit, to allow you to do more things. What do you think, Carrie? So thank you for that. Thank you for the introduction and the shout out to Caddy as well. Well done, and Camp Rock. Also, thank you to Volunteer Now for inviting me along this evening to say a few words around valuing young volunteers. And I think I just want to put things in a bit of perspective for you from an EA perspective, in the sense that, you know, youth work in Northern Ireland would not be possible without volunteers. It just simply wouldn't. When you look at the figures of all the EA funded youth work, there's over 19,000 volunteers contributing to youth work delivery in Northern Ireland. That's over 90% of the workforce for youth work. So that's not a small statement that I'm making. Youth work really would not happen without volunteers. And then also, it's kind of quite astounding to me is the number of volunteer hours per week. There's over 24,000 hours contributed by volunteers in Northern Ireland for youth work. So for that, I'm not just truly grateful, nor is just the EA, but the entire youth work sector is. It just would not be possible without you. For young people volunteering, though, and you've touched on some of the things there, is that volunteer provides those critical opportunities for young people to lead in social action, to fulfill a role within their local community as an active citizen, but also taking real participative action to make a difference to not only young people, but also their community as a whole. Personally, and particularly for volunteers, I see how volunteering builds resilience and motivation in our young people, as well as unlocking doors and opportunities they wouldn't normally have got if they hadn't volunteered. And those are quite critical for all our young people, particularly where we're at in current pandemic, which was mentioned earlier. And as I prepared for a few words this evening, I kind of always take a reflection back, but I also need to look forward, and that's what this whole event's about. And looking back, it's hard to ignore the impact of the pandemic and the impact that's had not only just on paid staff, but volunteers, and how youth work will continue to survive as we move through living with COVID, which is obviously where we're going to be. But it presented a massive disruption to the daily lives of young people. It upset their educational journey, and in more acute cases, exposed them to significant trauma. And those are all things that our children and young people are dealing with. What was heartening, though, through that whole thing, and you have to look on the positive side, take a strength-based approach, I keep telling myself, is that it was really heartwarming to see young volunteers step up during the pandemic when the restrictions were placed in their lives. And that was supporting not just their peers, but other young people around them, but also leading in designing programs, TikTok videos, Lauren, for dancing for everyone at home, to developing and designing resource packs on mental health and well-being, because we knew the impact that would have in their lives, but also delivering face-to-face care packages. We had young people volunteering, taking 5-day food boxes to families in our communities that couldn't feed their children at times. And that was a real testament to the resilience of our communities, but the resilience of our young people and their need to give back. But as we move forward, we need to look at new ways to encourage more to volunteer. And in doing that, I think we need to seek out new ways to value the contribution, particularly that young volunteers make in our youth programs or our communities. And that, to me, is a bit more going a step further, I think, as organizations, to not just awarding volunteers and recognizing achievements, but giving something tangible back to volunteers, because volunteering is not paid. So what is it that we can give in kind? And that's a fundamental question for me, and a challenge for me in my role within the Education Authority, but a question maybe for us this evening to consider is about how do we provide new opportunities for volunteers? You reflected on the experience down in Garda Toll. How do we provide those types of experiences for volunteers, not just for the young people that the volunteers are supporting? How do we provide skills and develop skills and opportunities of developing skills to help them further their educational journey or potential career opportunities that they might have aspired to? And that's not just in youth work. That's about looking at what we can contribute to volunteers for their long-term career and life aspirations. In essence, giving back in kind to what volunteers do in return and have contributed to youth work here in Northern Ireland. And what is really important for me in the middle of that is ensuring that young volunteers have a voice in what that looks like, that their voice shapes that decision, that it's not made by organizations, that they themselves speak up and say, this is what I would like to get an experience in as a volunteer. So in closing, I want to take this moment to say a massive thank you to all volunteers, particularly over this last 18 months, who supported the delivery of youth work, and encourage them to continue. Stick with it. It will reap awards. Share with your friends as well the difference that volunteering has made in your life. And Lauren, I'm going to give you a challenge. I started volunteering in youth work, and I'm now head of regional youth service. So I challenge you in the next 5 to 10 years to take my job, because if it works out, I might go a bit sooner than you think. So thank you for that. Thank you for the invite.
Thank you, and that is quite big shoes to fill. Very well. So now I'd like to introduce a presentation from Ben Mooney, who's with Volunteer Now's Youth Forum, on his volunteering journey, and it's just a view from another perspective.
I'm going to share the screen here, so fingers crossed, all works.
My name is Ben Mooney and I am 14 years old. I started fundraising at about 5 years of age in memory of my gran. This is my gran and
Oh, sorry.
granda when they are young. She died before I was born, but she had a really difficult life with health problems including multiple sclerosis, tic douloureux and cancer. I mainly did fun runs and walks because then, as now, age is an issue in taking part in more adventurous events. As you can see, I did lots of sponsored runs and walks dressed as Santa, a sumo wrestler, a kilt-wearing Scot, a zombie hunter, and various Avengers characters. I even ran blind with my dad, which is a real chance if you've seen how he drives his car. Fancy dress was an absolute must back then, and unfortunately sometimes photographs can come back to haunt me. I became an I Will ambassador at 10 years of age, and this is my profile picture. Other I Will ambassadors had the foresight to be selective with their image, but not Benjamin Button here. Becoming an I Will ambassador was definitely a high point for me, because being part of the I Will family, I received lots of support, encouragement, and opportunities to get involved in events promoting volunteering with Volunteer Now. Because of the limited number of events I could take part in, I decided to fundraise for something a bit different. Shortly after my 10th birthday, I achieved the Guinness World Record for the longest paperclip chain at 1,997 meters, whilst also raising money for Marie Curie. I also fundraised for Marie Curie with another Guinness World Record attempt a year later for the longest cable tie chain. My gran was helped by Marie Curie, and so it was good to give back to such a great charity. Since then, I have tried to push myself with more physical challenges. I paddled down the River Wye in England on an inflatable duck, which, as you can see, took its toll on my dad. I have also climbed over 35,000 meters of mountains and climbed to the top of the Gherkin in London for charity. Over the years, I have raised thousands of pounds for different charities, including Marie Curie, Cancer Focus Northern Ireland Hospice, Cancer Fund for Children, Bone Cancer Research Trust, Click Sargent, and NSPCC. While the pandemic has halted most events, it is even more difficult for charities, and so by being creative, you can do lots of virtual events. I have ran a virtual marathon and even a virtual walk of 427 miles from Mallinhead to Mizenhead, whilst fundraising for Cancer Focus NI. I have also had an archery challenge with my dad and done a virtual climb of Snowdon for Northern Ireland Hospice. It's about taking the best of your circumstances. I've been a part of Volunteer Now Youth Forum since 2019 and a member of the Youth Advisory Panel for the Association of Young People's Health since 2020. Young people can and should get involved. You get to meet new people, learn new stuff, and help others that aren't as well off as yourself. Volunteer Now can help with advice and information about what to do and how to do it, so give it a go.
Thank you very much. That was very interesting. I can't believe that. So I'd now like to introduce youth worker in charge of Matop Youth Centre, Carrie Kane, who's giving an organisation's perspective of meaningful volunteering and key areas for future development.
Hey, how you doing, everybody? I'm not as good as Lauren, as you all see. She's fantastic and does brilliant. But for me, volunteers are crucial. They're crucial to the support and the running of our youth centre. Without volunteers, we wouldn't be able to run and we wouldn't be able to achieve the things that we can. Young people take on roles from they've already described those, to participate in workshops, deliver, facilitate sessions. The young people gain valuable skills throughout their volunteering work. They learn how to take on responsibility, work as a team, resolve conflict, run programs and activities. They learn how to reflect and evaluate on their work. This is a process that takes years to master. Our young people start to volunteer from 14 years of age, and some stay like me and don't ever leave. Then there's the other young people who stay to 14 or stay to 16, and some continue to their 19. But what I find is when they hit 16, and this is through talking to our young people, when they hit 16, they need money. They want to go out at weekends. They want to do things. So what they're saying to me is, why can other youth centres, we're statutory sectors, so voluntary youth centres, they provide an incentive for them, which Paul also talked about an incentive, but they pay them for 9, they still volunteer maybe 6 or 8 hours or 10 hours, but they are paid 3 of those hours. We don't have that. So I get it all the time, that why are they getting paid and we aren't? So for me, I think that would be something that, I know volunteering is also something that young people want to do, but some kind of incentive that helps and supports them so that we can also keep them. We train them from they're young and they learn all these skills, and we train them up to go somewhere else to work, which they will do, but it'd be nice to keep them a wee bit longer, or to have that incentive that encourages the young people to stay. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
So next I'd like to introduce Caitlin McDermott and Rona Barrett from my own school. St Dominic's Grammar School, who'll present the social action programme that they were members of, and followed by Livy Curran from Pope John Paul II, young volunteer, and her perspective during the COVID-19 lockdown.
Bruna, do you want to start? I'm going to start. So this is our TBUC at St Dominic's, which was our social action project working with Volunteer Now. We had an open enrollment in year 13, so last year. So anyone who wanted to join could, to be a part of it. And we had a lot of discussion before we came to an agreement about what we wanted our theme to be. A lot of it was COVID related, but we didn't exactly know what we wanted to do, but we ended up going with mental health. And we wanted to target it especially at the years when coping mechanisms could be put into place. So we went with second year. And we quickly realized that we were going to need a team leader who could update Nicola, who was super helpful, to avoid Nicola having multiple emails and people asking the same questions and giving out the same answers all the time. So we had to rotate the team leader just to ensure fairness, and also with COVID, we couldn't have lots of us in the room. So 5 of us might have came into the room at the same time. So we had to have these weekly Zoom meetings with Nicola to kickstart the theme. And we would also meet over lunch to make sure we were all hearing the exact same thing and everyone was getting the same message. We divided into subgroups to avoid everyone doing the same tasks and to be able to share the work fairly. And at the bottom of the screen there, that was one of the tasks we put into the Google Classroom for our second years in the school. And it was all to do with kind of like coping mechanisms, so like reading. And we wanted to put it not on negative mental health, because I feel like that's like talked a lot, but also on the positives of mental health, and taking 5 minutes to go reading or go for a walk, especially with COVID and people being away from their friends and being stuck indoors all the time. We designed this game which involved launching the programme at a year group assemblies and visiting pastoral care classes to ensure weekly challenges. But then I think this was the October lockdown we were hit with. So we had to completely redesign this game, and we posted on the Social Action Google Classroom and had a rota of volunteers who also checked the participants were posting each week. And also we would give feedback to all the participants as well, like individual ones, just so they felt encouraged throughout it. We also had some training on child protection, like how to respond to personal or sensitive messages posted online, and all communication had to be public by Google Classroom only. Our challenges moved from introduction to more personal guided sharing. So each week we done like a different one, and the first one was introduction, getting to know us. The second week was being creative. The third week was more about teaching them how to complete self-care and what activities count as self-care and how they can actually, do it in the middle of the lockdown, just easy ones. And the fourth week was about mental health and talking with others. We encouraged different types of postings and drawings and lists and photos with phone clips of all their different talents, just so they could all appreciate like everyone in their years, because there's some people that they'd never spoke to before just because the previous lockdown, all throughout the first lockdown, some of them never even saw people out of their class, so it was a good way to try and introduce them to each other. The benefits of this was, as a team, we learned a lot of practical skills in running an online program, and we had lots of thank you messages from the participants, which were really nice and supportive for us to hear back. And we completed all our Millennium Volunteer hours, and also our teacher nominated us for the Disney Circle of Life Award, which we achieved. And we're particularly impressed with the reach the programme had around the school community, as well as the incorporation of the partnership of Volunteer Now.
Just take into the video from Libby. Sorry, too many buttons.
Hi, my name is Livy Kern and I'm part of my school's Pope John Paul II Award team. Pope John Paul II Award is a faith achievement award for young people between the ages of 16 and 18. It is non-competitive, inclusive, flexible and voluntary. The award allows young people to take an active part in the life of their church community. It is also committed to helping young people to further improve their physical, social, emotional and spiritual development through participation in a combination of school, parish and community activities. I decided to take part in the Pope John Paul II Award as I wanted to expand my faith and become more involved within my community. Some of the activities that I'm involved with are volunteering with my local scouting organisation as a junior beaver leader, helping out with rosary mornings and volunteering in my local charity shop. I have found completing the award more difficult this year due to all of the coronavirus restrictions that have been in place, as my main volunteering activity was shut down by the virus. However, if this award has taught me anything, it is to be resilient and never give up on your faith and community.
Thank you very much. Yeah, thanks to all of those. I think now I'm introducing the Scouts Northern Ireland, and they have a video clip to share with us about the journey of some of their volunteers and leaders. And then Vicky Flanagan is going to speak to us after the clip and will give us an insight to the organisation's perspective.
Bear with me again.
Hi, I'm Becca. I'm the Northern Ireland Commissioner for Squirrels. I started volunteering because I seen the benefits for myself as a young person and I wanted to give back to the community. And one of the benefits I found of volunteering is basically that it's developed my confidence and really my skills. And then one of the challenges I faced is really around my age. Some people don't think I'm as capable as I am, and it just takes them a wee while to come around to me.
Hi there, my name is Michael. I'm 25. I'm an Explorer leader in a 51st group in Belfast. I volunteer because I remember how much I was invested in as a young person growing up by my leaders, and I really want to be able to give that back to those that I'm a leader with now. And it shows as well that those leaders that were my leaders growing up are the leaders I work alongside now, which I love doing. I love being able to journey alongside them with whatever we're doing, whether that's a camp or just doing different badges. One of the big benefits I love scouting is that everyone mucks in together, everyone helps with different sections. If we're short on leaders in scouts, a few couple leaders might help, and vice versa. One of the big, I think, suppose, things that's a bit of a disadvantage with our volunteering is that sometimes it gets in the way of your social life. I'm a big Korean FC football fan, and a lot of the time that might get in the way of, you know, going out to scouting. I will choose scouting always ahead of that, but it's a bit of a rubbish when sometimes I want to go see Korean win and can't. But yeah, I love scouting and I love volunteering.
Hi, my name is Emma Webster and I volunteer with Scouting NI. I volunteer with a group called Glengormley Explorers in North Belfast, and then I'm also NI Commissioner for Network. I volunteer because it makes me feel like I'm making a difference in the world. I enjoy it and I feel like I'm making a difference at my local community level, but also across the world. When I see the impact that it has on kids, it's just great to feel that I was a part of that. It brings a real benefit to me. It's good for my well-being. You know, I feel like making that difference makes me feel good. It makes me feel like I've made a positive change, and also being part of the scouting structure and its organisation makes me feel like I'm leaving a legacy behind me with youth groups. And then a challenge for me would be time management for sure. It takes a lot. It's a real skill to tick off on the CV when you say you time manage your work, you time manage scouts, you time manage any other type of social aspect to your life, and that is a real skill to master. And also just mastering saying no, and making sure that you're fitting it into your life is a challenge as well. But overall, volunteering is brilliant and I really enjoy it.
Hi, my name's Scott Robinson and I'm Deputy County Commissioner for People and Perception at Belfast County. And I guess I volunteer with Scouts really to give back to the community, and that's really one of the benefits which I see in Scouting, is giving back, seeing people, but also having that socialisation outside of work, outside of family, and really giving something into the community. But I guess also that's one of the challenges where it's all about the balancing of time and not overcommitting yourself.
Hi, I'm Michael Morrison and I'm a Scout leader in First Monkstown. I love volunteering because whenever I was young, I was given all these fantastic opportunities with Scouting, travel the world, meet loads of really interesting people, and I believe it's my duty to be able to give that back to the young people that follow me through. Some of the benefits that I find within the volunteering is whenever we get to not just work with the young people, but all the other adults within Scouting. So, the networking chances, the going on adventures and finding that camaraderie with everyone that's in there. Some of the challenges that do come up will be the interference with social life. What I find is a good thing is that actually a lot of my social life then became around Scouting, so I'm now very friendly with a lot of the other leaders, and we would go off and do stuff that we like together, like camping in the Antrim Hills or going out go-karting together. Stuff that, the adventurous side of things that really got me through Scouting whenever I was younger, I get to do now as an adult. Other challenges that you find as well is working in with time for work. I travel a lot for work and do find it very hard sometimes getting to all the meetings and getting to do all the other stuff. Luckily in recent times the digital aspects really help that, but it doesn't quite replace the face-to-face meeting that we get.
Hi, my name is Emily and I'm a leader at Second Bangor Abbey and also the Northern Ireland Youth Commissioner. I volunteer so that young people can have the opportunities and experiences that I got to have when I was a young person. The benefit of volunteering for me is that it's very rewarding and that I get to meet lots of amazing people.
Can everyone hear me? Yeah. Okay, so that was just a few of our young volunteers. Everyone in the video, bar one, is under 25. The one who's over 25 leads our youth leader scheme, and I'll let you choose which one you think might be the oldest to yourselves, so I'll not name and shame. But yeah, thank you for having me and thank you for allowing me to come and speak about volunteering as a young person under the Scout umbrella. I think for us in Scouting, one of the huge benefits is that youth involvement is woven the whole way through everything that we do. Everyone that was on that video is either a Northern Ireland Commissioner or a young person who's come through Scouting and is now on our staff. And the last girl that spoke, Emily, she's actually our youth commissioner for Northern Ireland. So she oversees every youth commissioner that sits in each county and in each district, and she line manages them. She's only 22. She line manages all of the youth commissioners. She sits on the recruitment of staff members. She interviewed me. She interviewed our chief executive, and she's going to be interviewing in London to find the UK youth commissioner. So all of our young people are so involved, and I think that's a huge thing. Another girl that spoke, Emma, is 23 and is Northern Ireland completely in charge of our section called Network, which is 18 to 25. So she's managing her peers, and all of those young people are managing adult leaders, are sitting in the board, are sitting on our executive, and just them steering the organization as a whole, having their say. And they all do that while volunteering. So for us in Scouts, we're so lucky. That's a big benefit, is that we have so many young volunteers. I was trying to look up, we've got almost 500 over 18 but under 25 on our list. And then unfortunately, we don't keep a record of young leaders under 18 separately, but we have a lot, and we have 167 groups, I think it is, and each of those all have young leaders built within that lead the younger sections. I'll finish on one challenge that we kind of see in particular. So obviously there's huge benefits, and we really value all our young people and the input they have into the organisation. But one main challenge we find, aside from things like time management and wanting to get a part-time job or exams and all of that, one big thing we find as we aim to embed our young leaders within our own structures is that our Explorer unit, which would be the 14 to 18, and then Network, which is 18 to 25, they don't meet within a group the way that in another uniform group might. When they hit 14, they move to a district group. And that was mainly set up because actually there's not as many 14 to 18s. You can have 40 in the squirrel section at 4, but you're not going to have 40 16-year-olds. So a lot of groups pull together, have a district group, and they all meet together, which is great because there's a lot of skill in that, and there's a lot of different leaders that can come in. But the big thing we find is then trying to bring them back to group and trying to embed them in a leadership role within a different section, because they've come through the group, they move on, they go into their Explorer unit. They'll either go and be a commissioner or within district, county or Northern Ireland level. But the harder issue then is trying to pull them back and get them to come back to their group because they've left that, and there's a break in that. So that's one complication and challenge that we face, but one that we're working to overcome. But yeah, thank you so much for having me. It's been really great to hear different people's stories and the input and the impact that young people are having. So it's been great. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Vicky. We're now going to split into 3 breakout groups to have a discussion around a couple of questions. These will be chaired and recorded by the Volunteer Now staff. So we'll engage in a conversation, and a young person from each group can feed back one point that they get from within their breakout rooms.
Good evening, Kula. How are you?
I am well, thank you. I've come in while the groups are the breakout room.
Yes. They've just gone in. I can put you into one if that's okay.
Yep, go ahead.
Yeah. I'll send you into with Denise in group 1.
Okay.
That's
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye. Do you get a wee note to join? No, not join. Yeah.
Welcome back. We get kicked out very quick, don't we?
That was brutal.
Yeah.
I know. It's very hard when you like to talk and you can't. Okay, so we're going to do a wee bit of feedback then, are we?
So we have one key point from each of the groups. So does breakout room 1 want to go first?
Great. Jane, who was in group the breakout room there, group 1?
That was
I'll go first.
That was you, Laura. Yes.
Yeah, I'll go
yes,
first.
Oisín, yes. There's Oisín has volunteered there, Laura.
Oh, Oisín, brilliant.
Oisín was just highlighting who's in group 1, Laura.
Oh,
Thanks.
right.
Oh,
Okay,
right,
sorry.
okay. Oh, sorry. Okay, we go then, Laura. Sorry.
Our main discussion really was around the pathway of volunteering and lifelong volunteering, and how that doesn't always suit the young person, how life challenges can often get in the way. So there was kind of 2 different ideas of that. Should we try and keep them in, or should we try to help them do more temporary kind of volunteering roles? So yes, that was our main discussion.
And then group 2 was yourself, Director.
Thank you, Laura. So will I go for my group then?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, great. So we had quite a discussion, and a couple of key points there did come up. School and the pressure from school and exams came up, and that was quite felt by a lot of the young people, for the fact that they feel that they have to put all their efforts into the studying at present, because they could well be the exams that are taken on board for you know, the real thing. So that there's an awful lot of pressure there, and that's a key thing, and we felt that. And those of us who are parents, we recognize what that is. So that was a big thing there. Also, I want to mention a possible way forward would be the incentive. I think that's great, and I think there's an agreement there, but we need some form of incentive. We need some form of a pathway that will actually allow us to maybe keep a hold to our young people So we don't lose all those qualities of skills and IT and all that fresh approach to working that, you know, we teach them, but they teach us. And if they leave us, we've lost that, and then we have to try and start all over again. So there needs to be that incentive or a pathway that maybe will help us to hold on to them, but not keeping still, you know, keeping them afresh, training, and always improving on that.
And then group 3 was yourself, Keith?
Yep, I'm going to say a wee tiny bit, and I'm going to hand over to Oren. And I think one of the things we've seen as a real positive is just the progression that young people have from volunteering to then that aspect of leadership and becoming the sort of mentors and then bringing through the next generation. But one of the development and also one of the challenges my friend Oren is going to tell you about.
So something I think more inexperienced or younger volunteers would benefit from is certain like schemes to help them. So me personally, I did a child protection scheme outside of my youth club. It has helped me throughout my youth club. I say there was a time where a younger one of the juniors had a case where they were getting picked on and were getting made fun of. I knew that I had to bring that child to our child protection officer, whereas a younger, more inexperienced volunteer might not know what to do and might start panicking, and that isn't good for the child nor the volunteer. So I think just to build some experience would just be good through schemes like the child protection scheme that I did.
That's great. Thank you very much. Okay, back to Lauren.
I think now we're going on to introduce Maureen Larkin's group from Newry Morning Down area, and they have a wee presentation, I believe.
The Education Authority Youth Service has long recognised the importance of volunteering as a crucial part of the journey that young people make within our service. We aim to provide a variety of opportunities for young people to engage with volunteering and social action, and we will now hear from some of them about their experience with us.
Hi, my name's Erin, and with doing some volunteering with different groups in the summer scheme and doing volunteering with the Inclusion in the City group, I feel I've built up a lot more confidence within myself and have built up some more courage to speak in front of people. This was put into place during the Youth for Mental Health event whenever I had to speak to other groups.
Hi, my name is Holly Jane. My experience of volunteering with the AA has been very varied, and I feel it has really helped me to build up my confidence. My favourite event that I was involved in was organising a gala ball for young people with disabilities, which involved many weeks of planning, seeking donations and then volunteering on the night. I then went on to be a peer mentor for a T-Buck programme, and I still continue to participate in the Newry Youth Forum. We recently held a mental health event. I've made many friends and many great memories throughout this experience, so I've enjoyed my years of volunteering.
Hi, I'm Grace. Through my different volunteering opportunities with the EA, such as assisting at play days in different areas and a virtual tea party with elderly members of the community, I've been able to develop my confidence, leadership skills and communication skills. I've also been able to make new friends and memories.
Hi, my name is Mia. Through my volunteering with EA, including small grants, intergenerational tea party and summer volunteering, I was able to improve my confidence and communication skills. To prepare for the summer volunteering, I received disability awareness training as well as safeguarding and child protection training. These qualifications aided me in securing part-time work, and my time volunteering serves as a valuable experience for university applications. I was able to learn how to work in a team as well.
Hello, my name is Megan. Throughout my EA volunteering journey, I have acquired many useful skills, including communication, confidence and teamwork. During my work within the inclusion group, I have developed my ability to work with people from different backgrounds and really valued meeting new people. I took part in litter picks, which raised my awareness of the issue of litter picking and the environment within my local area, inspiring me to continue to make changes to save the environment and protect local wildlife and biodiversity.
Hi, my name is Neve. My experience with the youth service so far has given me some wonderful opportunities. For example, I helped plan and host a few events for young people with disabilities. I have been lucky enough to be recognised for my volunteering. I received the Millennium Volunteer Ultimate Award in Belfast Castle. I have spoken at online events where I shared my views on EA as a whole and what it's like as a young person with dyslexia and dyspraxia. This made me realise my passion for public speaking and making a difference in the life of young people with disabilities in the local area. This improved my self-esteem and my confidence and my skills. Volunteering in the youth service has helped me become a youth support worker and get my dream job as a classroom assistant.
Hello, my name is Oisín Mee, and one time I was a peer leader at the Tullymore Residential Centre for the Inclusion in the City in 2018. I am now a member of the Wonder Group, as I still currently am, since 2017, and I have been awarded Basic First Aid Training Certificate, Knockathon Training Certificate, Safe Talk Suicidal Awareness, John Muir Environmental Work, and Cultural and Environmental Impacts Work.
Hi, I'm Tara. I really enjoy volunteering within the EA. It has given me various opportunities such as building new friendships, gaining confidence, awareness of different cultures and many other things. I have done a substantial amount of volunteering over the years, such as Small Grants Panel. This group gives funding to youth groups all over the north of Ireland, peer mentoring for a local youth group in my community, and Neuro Youth Forum, a group of young people tackling issues revolving around young people in the area. I have been kept motivated to continue my volunteering as I have made so many great memories and friends. I will always be grateful for the opportunities that EA has given me.
Thank you very much again. I'm now going to introduce our next speaker of the evening, which is Kula Yasuma from the NI, who is the NI Commissioner for Children and Young People.
Thank you very much, Lauren. Was it Lauren who introduced me? Yeah, thank you. I'm really sorry. I only joined this event just a few minutes ago, and I have got a speech prepared, but it strikes me that what I've written down isn't appropriate, so I'm going to wing it a little bit. I have been instructed only to speak for 7 minutes. That is very specific, but anyway, we'll stick with the 7 minutes. So what I'm going to do is try and stick to that. So, like I said, I wish you all luck in listening and keeping up with what I'm saying, because this is going to be really random. But anyway, some of you may know, and Denise and others will know, that the first event I spoke at when I became Children's Commissioner back in 2015 was a Volunteer Now event. It was for the Millennium Volunteers, which is great, because I've heard some of you talking about that today. So I suppose what I want to say is I'm not going to change vastly what I said then, but what I do, which is good, because a lot of you weren't born when sorry, a lot of you are too young to even have been at that event, so it will sound new to you. So just, if you've heard it before, just pretend you haven't. But as the Northern Ireland Commissioner for Children and Young People, I am tasked by law to promote and safeguard the rights of every child here. And that means anyone under the age of 18 and in certain circumstances up to 21. And I am bound by the law to have regard for the United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child. Don't panic, I'm not going to go through it. I don't know if any of you are aware, but some of the young people that are here, or even the parents are here, will know that some young people did GCSE English a few weeks ago. And on one of the papers, the 85 point question was the following: please prepare a speech for your classmates that looks at the following issue. Young people deserve more praise for what they offer society. And some young people absolutely hated that question. Some apparently liked it, but I'm going to try and answer that question in these what is probably only 3 minutes left. I'm not even at the first page. So when we think about volunteering, we don't always think young people. And sometimes in society, we're quite quick to think the worst of our young people when the evidence is to the contrary, and this event is evidence of that. And we know that young people do volunteer, and they volunteer in their droves. And as Children's Commissioner, I'm going to talk specifically about the under 18s volunteering, because that's my job. And from a survey that was conducted in 2017, 2/3 of 16-year-olds said they had volunteered in the past year, and 42% of them had done it on a weekly basis. So that's a huge swathe of young people volunteering, just a snapshot of one age group. Interestingly, more boys than girls volunteered, which I thought was interesting, but also a little bit higher levels of volunteering in rural communities than urban ones, which again is really interesting and I suppose speaks to communities. You talked about it today, about why young people volunteer, build your CVs, to improve things for people and for their community, and to learn new skills. All of them are valid. I love my job. I'm passionate about what I do, but I'm glad I get paid for it. I do come to work to earn, so I come to work for a number of things. And so all of those are really legitimate reasons. And also it connects young people into their communities. It makes you, well, the evidence says it makes you feel part of what's going on around you. And again, you'll have talked about it in this session, the range, and we've heard it from the group in Newry, the range of activities young people do and what happens. So I'm not going to go in there. And in our groups, we talked about the barriers to volunteering. And I suppose I do have a little bit of a take. Being a young person, particularly an older young person, if you're at school, can be quite stressful. And we know the level of schoolwork and other commitments makes volunteering quite a difficult thing to do, because you don't always have the spare time to be able to do it. But that does remind us that maybe schools need to do things a bit differently to remove that barrier of thinking academic work takes over. Volunteering, should prevent you from doing volunteering. And Article 29 of the UNCRC reminds us that education is more than just academic learning. It's about a child's skills, their talents, their personality and abilities. And that surely provides an opportunity to embed volunteering more into our formal education system, and to make sure that there are opportunities for our young people to volunteer. What I will say I found particularly exciting in recent years is the level of activism and campaigning by young people, and the energies that have been put by young people into changing the world. And again, Article 12 talks about the importance of listening to our young people and their right to express their views. Young people have been campaigning to create change for themselves, but also for other young people, for adults and younger children, but in the here and now, but also in the long term. They have brought energy and passion to public debates and ensure that a wider range of voices are heard, including those who are most disadvantaged. And again, you've heard examples of that this evening. They've used social media and have demanded changes be made, and have used their time to campaign on a range of issues, such as climate justice, mental health, poverty, LGBTQ+ rights, the prevalence of drugs, and a number of other issues. And it's not only through social media, through marching and protesting, through petitions, through writing and emailing, making presentations and informing. And whilst that's not formal volunteering, and whilst we don't always capture that, it's phenomenal how much young people have invested in making our world and our community a better place. So whether as volunteers, young people support individuals or groups, or work, as I've said, to change the world, there are enormous benefits to the young people on building new skills, on improving their confidence, on making friends, on meeting others from different backgrounds of communities. But that's a transactional thing, because there's huge benefits to our society, to the lives of individuals, but also to making a contribution to securing a shared and better Northern Ireland into the future. So going back to that GCSE question, And please send me your grade, how you've graded me, in an envelope so I can open it in a panic. Young people are definitely not given enough credit for the positive contribution that they make, because there is overwhelming evidence that they do make an enormous contribution to the well-being of our society. However, and this is why I don't like that question, it's not fair to ask young people to prove it. Can you imagine if there was a question saying adults make a positive contribution, discuss? That's why I object to that question. The assumption that young people are not every day making a difference to their society and the world around them in little ways and in big ways. So I'm going to leave you. I love finishing speeches with a quote from somebody else because there's so many more cleverer people. And there's a quote from Martin Luther King, and I think it speaks to the conversations you've been having about incentives, because the biggest incentive, and I have been a volunteer throughout my life at various different times, the incentives are the ones that speak to our individual motivations, and they vary and they differ. And that enormously great feeling you have when you volunteer. And the look, and I'll never forget the look on a young person's face when they were having a go at me about when I was younger. They were having a go at me about something. And they said, anyway, you're paid to do this. I said, no, I'm not. I'm not paid. I'm here because I want to be here. And all I'm getting is the same white bread sandwich that you're getting. And they flipped like that because you could see them feeling proud that I wanted to be with them. And it wasn't just because I was getting a salary. Can I just say I'm getting a salary and I do want to be with you today as well. So, but you do get that added sense of satisfaction. Anyway, I've come to an end, Deirdre, don't panic. Martin Luther King said, everybody can be great because anybody can serve. You don't have to have a college degree to serve. You don't have to make your subject and your verb agree to serve. You don't have to have the second theory of thermodynamics in physics to serve. Good job, really. You only need a heart full of grace, a soul generated by love. So we can serve, we do serve, and we are all so grateful to everyone who serves in whatever way works for you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kula, for your very inspirational talk, and I do say so myself, that's an A* from my point of view. I think we're going to move on to introducing Michelle McElveen, which is the Minister of Education, but the Minister can't be with us tonight, so I think there's a video clip sent for us to watch.
Thank you, Lauren.
I'm pleased to have been invited by Volunteer Now to close today's conference on youth volunteering. I would have liked to be with you, but unfortunately a prior direct engagement means I've not been able to join you at this evening's online event. I do, however, look forward to seeing the outcome of your discussions in due course. As we all know, time is a very precious commodity which volunteers give freely to a range of different causes to benefit others across our society. The opportunities section of Volunteer News website gives an insight into the variety and range of opportunities that exist across a wide range of organisations for people of all ages across Northern Ireland. Indeed, many of these organisations rely on volunteers to deliver their services. Locally, youth work has benefited from the involvement of around 20,000 volunteers who give their time to benefit our children and young people. Without these volunteers, the youth service delivery would be very much poorer. Turning to the role of young volunteers, I know there is much evidence that volunteering at a young age can lead to a lifetime commitment to volunteering. So it's fitting that your discussions have focused on how to ensure meaningful volunteering opportunities for young people and the barriers to engaging young volunteers. But as well as helping others, young people gain much personal benefit through volunteering, including the enjoyment and satisfaction that is a feature of volunteering, along with a range of new skills, friendships and enriching experiences. Volunteering not only inspires confidence in the individual, but also in the abilities of young people within their local communities. Young people can and do make a difference, I would therefore encourage you to support young people by providing meaningful opportunities and embedding good practice learning in volunteer management to benefit both the volunteer and the host organisation. Volunteers do not ask for, nor do they expect recognition. However, it is important that we do recognise and celebrate the achievement of young people's volunteering. The Education Authority's Volunteering Awards is one way in which the contribution of a volunteer is recognised, and I would encourage you to nominate worthwhile recipients for the 2022 awards. So in closing, I would like to offer my personal thanks to all volunteers for that invaluable contribution to our society, and in particular our young volunteers and those who have contributed towards better futures and outcomes for children and young people here. I'd also like to thank you for your contribution at today's conference, especially those young volunteers who have shared their own experiences and learning. I trust you found today's event beneficial, and I would encourage you to consider what action you can take to put in practice the results of your discussion. Thank you.
Thank you very much again, and I think it's my last introduction for tonight. I would like to introduce Denise Hayward again for closing remarks for Volunteer Now's Regional Conference 2021.
Lauren, thanks so much, and thank you for being a brilliant compere all through the evening. So I don't know how to do these virtual claps. I'm not very good at it. I always seem to leave it up far too long, but big virtual clap to you. So thank you. And thanks again to all of the other speakers and participants, and those of you who shared your videos and your photographs and your stories about your volunteering. I have to say it's been really fantastic to hear from all of you. I've really enjoyed it. Thank you so much for doing it. This is the start of a journey for us. We are at the beginning of a piece of research to look at, I think Paul mentioned it actually in his presentation, just about what should that kind of recognition pathway for volunteering for young people look like. We've commissioned the University of Kent and the Queen's University Belfast to do a piece of work for us. They're at the minute doing the very exciting thing that's literature review and looking at all of the evidence from across the world actually on what's good practice and what does this look like. And they've also been doing some data analysis, secondary data analysis about the published research about youth volunteering in Ireland. So we're planning then a programme of engagement with young people after Christmas and with organisations, because often this is two sides of the story. Young people might be very keen to volunteer, but organisations aren't so keen to have them, and vice versa. So we need to explore and understand all of that, and the universities will be working jointly with us to provide us a report. Hopefully by the end of March we'll have that done. So I'm really keen that if any of you would like to continue in that discussion with us, then please come back to us, chat to Jane or to any of the other team members here tonight, and we'll be able to engage you with that research so that we can come together to look at what that pathway should look like, both within the youth service and within youth work organisations, but also in that wider community setting, because it's not always as structured. I think we were talking about that in our group. So really looking forward to hearing from you over the next few months as we do that research. And thank you again for a really interesting and valuable evening. Thank you.
We're just going to maybe do a poll now, Jane, for an evaluation.
I think what we're going to do is just ask for people to give us some thoughts, just in terms of how you thought tonight was, and put those comments into the chat, or if you want to shout out, then we'll have that as a recording as well too. So we decided not to go with the Mentimeter. I think I'd shared the screen too many times tonight, so I decided not to go for the Mentimeter or the poll everywhere or any of those other techie things, just in case I messed it up at the very end. So it'd be great if we had some participation from yourselves. I know you've listened very well this evening, but and participated excellently. But it'd be good if you have any comments that you would like to make, or any suggestions in terms of next steps, as Denise has said, or participation. It would be very welcome.
You can put it in the chat, but please, if anyone would like to speak out, it is, take your mic off and please do share. It's lovely to have this opportunity to speak. So please go ahead.
I feel like tonight went really well. Thank you for inviting me. Maybe just more events like this for other young people to hear their sides and that sort of thing, and more events for young people with disabilities in the youth service, because there's not that many. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Niamh, for sharing that, and I've made a note of that, and that's very important. I'm very pleased with your clip that you shared as well. You spoke very, very well, so well done you, and thank you. Anyone else? You're awfully shy. Blushing.
I think it's actually fantastic how we learn from different other youth forums or education authority work, and I think there's everything that I know is probably close to some of the other youth forums, but I think there's other things like little parts of it that we can learn from other groups, you know, take their inspiration thoughts into ours or get our inspiration thoughts into them. So there's a great big connection to it, and how I think that would be great to encourage other people to become volunteers and provide them that better opportunity to develop their social actions and develop their confidence and build friendship and all. And I understand. I think there's probably the barrier that some people, some very experienced or training volunteers might miss opportunities because of certain other works they're doing, such as or maybe the coronavirus. Since lockdown hit, there's been a lack of motivation and things that were probably just not organized. So maybe in an improvement way, we can like start rebuilding that motivation, rebuilding the friendship would be one, but probably just with not very much experience, people might miss those experience, and in a certain way they might have to start learning again or go back to basics and then start developing that social skills. If it all makes sense, please excuse, because I'm autistic.
Not at all, Oisín. It makes a lot of sense. I can totally relate to everything that you're sharing with us, so very much appreciate it. And it's great that you are able to speak and put your point across tonight, and we're delighted to hear it. Thank you very much.
No problem. Thanks very much. It's great.
Great. Anyone else?
Any other further comments or thoughts in terms of how this evening went, or what we could do to make it better even? Very willing to hear that as well.
I just said tonight went really well. I was actually kind of terrified coming onto this, but it went really well. So for me, I really enjoyed it, and I thought it was a great way to hear other people's perspectives on volunteering, and just to know that we're not the only ones out there that have the same barriers towards things as well.
That's great, Lauren. I think that was what I kind of got from it as well too, particularly listening to yourselves, the guys up in Newry and what you were doing, listening to Niamh there, but also the Scouts and the school too, in terms of the different barriers. Age seems to be, you know, quite a prolific one in terms of the younger you are, and listening to Ben too, you know. So and I know from Ben, you know, and from yourselves and from other young people, that it's the parental support that's really important in terms of being able to encourage them and support them to volunteer, particularly at that young age. So yeah, it's really interesting. But thanks Lauren for that too. That's great. Okay. So I think we'll let everybody get on with their evening. Thank you very much for coming this evening.
Maureen, maybe.
Maureen's got her hand up.
Yes.
Sorry,
I just
Maureen.
wanted, sorry, Jane. I just wanted to make one point that it's great that we have some young people on. We would have had a lot more young people. Unfortunately, the timing of this wasn't brilliant. So if in the future we could think about the timetabling of something like this, it kind of coincides with quite a bit of school pressure at the moment. So because we had about 4 or 5 other young people who would have loved to have come on, but as they're jammed up with studies.
I would only add to that by saying, wouldn't it be great if we could all meet in person? And I
Yeah.
think there's been one
Yeah.
one amazing advantage of tonight is the representation of young people from urban and rural, from
Yeah,
across
yeah.
the province. I mean, that is one of the adages of a digital meeting, I suppose. But I think what it kind of lacks for us sometimes is a real meaningful conversations. There's so many things that you've said this evening that I would love to be like having sideline conversations about and getting a bit deeper in behind and hearing more and more from all of the young people on the call. It would be really great as well. And creating actually the platform for all of you to talk, because I think all of you have really strong, important views on this. Oisín, you spoke really well in our breakout group and kind of brought us back to reality, give us a reality check, which was excellent. But I mean, Maura or Niamh, for example, actually, I've heard you talk before, and I know you can command a room. You are very good at it. So I think giving you the room, the actual room, would be great as well. So that's the only thing I would add on to it as well. But well done, everyone.
So just to wrap up, thanks everybody for participating in the Volunteer Now's regional conference, and we'll keep you informed of our findings that have been taken from the conference this evening. So thank yous and Merry Christmas.
Thanks so much, Lauren.
Thanks very much, Lauren. Thank you.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Bye.
Bye.
Take care.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Bye. Are we staying on?
Sorry.
Hi.
You can breathe now, Deirdre.
What time is it now? That was great.
What's
it,
46?
Well done, Jane.
That was good. I know, well done, Jane, because that's a lot of pressure when you're doing that.
It was a breakout rooms, and then two came in the middle of it. I was like,
Oh no. Well, here, really well done. Honestly, brilliant job. It's very good to listen to it and see it. And
It was
really
interesting,
clean.
wasn't it?
And do you know what? We had the plan and we chatted with
Stop
Lauren.
recording. Let me stop recording.
Okay.